Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Here we are again for your new Bridge Writers. Bridge Writers is a project. There are activities organized by ISIC, the Interassistential Services for the Internationalization of Conscienciology, in partnership with UNIESCON, the organization that comprise all the publisher authors of conscienciology books. Today, we have a special guest and a very interesting topic, anti-dogmatic consciousness. And we will talk about dogma and the way the dogmatism can be overcome and what the consciential paradigm brings and how it helps in the overcoming process. Therefore, our guest today is Wagner Strachicini. Welcome, Wagner. We are very happy to have you here and to hear what you are going to share.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for participation in the Bridge Writers. I would like to thank you for the invitation to be with you today. Hopefully, we can have a good time together, learning, exchanging information and experiences. So thanks again for having me, and I'm at your disposal.
Okay. Wagner Strachicini is graduated in architecture, urbanism, and civil construction technology with a university extension in engineering, industrial management, and project management. He volunteers at UNIESCON, is a member of the Invisible College of Rechexiology, is a verbatimographer of the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology, author of the book Anti-Dogmatic Consciousness, Recycling the Dogmatic Ideas of Science, Philosophy, and Religion through Conscienciology, published by Editares, and organizer of two family books, Zeca, 100 Years, Memories and Glory, 90 Years Stories. They can be found on Amazon. So here we are, and let's start your presentation and our debate. And in the end, our guests are invited to come with their questions. I will share my screen in a second. Here it is. Okay.
That's the last one.
This is the last one, right? Okay. Here is the first one, and the presentation mode is here.
Yes, let's get started with the slide number 2, since you have already talked about the number 1. The title of our presentation today is Researching and Writing Anti-Dogmatic Consciousness. Yeah, let's keep the picture of the... Yes. The presentation today will be based on my book, which was launched on June 29, 2019, at the Tertuliano of the CEAC in Foz do Iguaçu, state of Paraná, Brazil. The book was released in Portuguese edition. The English version is under revision. These days, our publishers use the print on demand, the POD mode, to launch a book, allowing for significant less cost. There is no cost for the writer to have the book printed. It gets printed by Amazon when it's purchased on their site. The process of publishing the book by Editares cost me nothing. All work was made by volunteers. Review its original suggestions, the comfort, the creation of a graphic project, layout, book cover, language correct, everything. The book is available at Amazon. The book in Portuguese also exists for Kindle. Today's presentation is going to cover the process of researching, the process of writing, the main ideas from the book, so I will share some highlights about the content of the book, and the Q&A. So will be four phases on today's presentation. Let's talk now about the principle of disbelief. Slide number 3. Usually, we start presentations emphasizing the importance of the principle of disbelief. So, we would ask you to keep your mind open, but at the same time knowing that I do not intend to proclaim absolute truths. Critical thinking is necessary for everything we are going to say today. As it says in the slide, don't believe in anything, not even in what we will hear in this lecture. Experiment, have your own experience. The expression, do not believe in anything, the first part of the principle of the belief, is not a justification or a defense for the skepticism, but a need for scientific and methodological study, so that conscienciology is distinguished from the other lines of knowledge. This beliefology is a subfield of conscienciology that studies disbelief, non-religion, anti-religion, or doubt, based on the principle of disbelief. Disbeliefology refers to anti-dogmatism, anti-indoctrination, skepticism, questioning, logical reflection, and scientificity, being the basic principle adopted in conscienciology. The slide number 4, the following slides, it's important. I'll take a bit more time on this slide because of the importance of this information for the whole process of the research, the writing, and the book itself, and from my experience. So I would start talking a little bit about mesological references, which is influence of culture, family, and the environmental influences of a small town. I was born in a small town in Brazil and raised in Christianity Baptist tradition. As you see in the slide on the picture above, the Catholic Church is also predominant in the city, but I was born in the Baptist tradition. And there is a particularity on the Baptists because they don't baptize newborns or children until they reach the age of 10. Supposedly, by the age of 10, a person has its freedom of choice, as it says in the Baptist doctrine. So they can decide to accept Jesus Christ as the Savior of the soul and follow the tradition of being baptized by immersion in the water. So that was a tradition that they believe Jesus Christ is entering the Jordan River to be baptized. So they
And
follow
John
that.
the Baptist baptizing, so
John the Baptist, a
yeah, the
supposedly cousin of Jesus Christ, has, so they follow that tradition. And now, friends, I have an important thing to say about the word dogma, because while attending a Sunday school class, when I was being prepared for baptism, someone said that word, dogma. So that word I heard as at that age when I was 10. And I remember clearly, as is of today, the teacher of the Sunday school said, no, here at the Baptist Church, we don't have dogma. Only Catholic Church has dogma. So, which is a completely wrong thing, because Bible is the major dogma in the Protestant tradition. In my personal life, there was no such experience of salvation or some kind of proof of faith or any remarkable situation that led me to believe, since I was already an evangelical child. I did not understand why I need to convert or what exactly would need to be saved. So I used to question my mom and dad. So why I need to go to that baptism and say to the, I accept Jesus and need to, because I am already at the church. What I need to go with that? Oh, they said, no, that's a personal thing. So you have to do that. So by tender age, despite being already considered conscious and the influence of the family, that weighed on my decision. However, this not prevent to question the questioning attitude of the consciousness, seeking something else to accomplish in this existence, a more comprehensive sense of life project, that the simple idea of believing in a faith, accept Jesus, being baptized, and have a life, and then after this life go to heaven. So that was very simple idea. So that also a thing that called me attention. Let's proceed now to the next slide about talking now about the development of anti-dogmatic consciousness. Through my current life, I consider to be adhered to three different paradigms. In chronological order, I would say religious, scientific, and consciential. To represent these three experiences in paradigms, I have adopted the following expressions, which for the sake of didactics ended up organizing the book in three sections as follows. Homo sapiens credulus, during the first 25 years, from childhood, like I have explained, until the age of 25, by adherence to Christianism. Then, from 25 to 35, I was disappointed with dogmatic religious explanations and about the meaning of life. And I felt like I start to feel like a stranger in the nest. So, and by the age of 35, I accessed the conscienciology. So I am 66 today, so 31 years ago, I have reached and considering the consciential paradigm at least more upgraded from the previous three paradigms. The concepts of the Homo sapiens credulus, Homo sapiens scientificus, and Homo sapiens conscienciologicus will be discussed in the slides ahead. Let's go to the next. Why dogmas? So that's one thing. Why dogmas? Why anti-dogmatism? Dogmas within the specialty of this beliefology are the topic of my research, the topic of my major interest. The topic of research is one of the steps for those who are planning to write a book as part of their existential program, the 'PROEX'. If you are planning to write a book, it's important to have a topic of research. Dogma is commonly associated with religion. Dogmatism is in fact present in several spheres of human knowledge, including conventional science, philosophy. In my opinion, that constitute a delay or an obstacle for consciential evolution. The recycling of dogmatic ideas to reach anti-dogmatism, of course, requires interest and openness to question the uncritical submission to the concepts presented as absolute truth.
Can I try to add something to that?
Of
So I
course,
think,
of course.
so what we're saying, or what you're saying, is that the dogma is like being closed-minded, right? Which is the opposite of what we in conscientiology think it's important, which is to be open-minded to the new and to experimentation and to investigation. And when you are within a dogma, you're just accepting what you hear, what you read, what is, what people tell you, and therefore you don't investigate, you don't question, you don't, right? All this movement of the person, of the consciousness, doesn't get done, so to speak. That is why it doesn't lead you to evolution, or at least not in any fast way.
Yes, yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah, okay. Uh, Now we are at the slide number 6, why dogmas, okay? I said the concept of dogmas within the specialty of this beliefology. What about anti-dogmatism is the set of attitudes of the consciousness opposed to dogmatism, resulting from rejection of doctrines proclaimed in the manner of absolute truths, adherence to the opinions of others, considered to be definitive and irrefutable. That's the point, without the need of verification. Let's now go to the slide number 7. Challenge questions. When I started the process of researching for my book, I had a few major questions in mind that I wanted to answer along the text. Here are some of those questions, not all the questions, but the most important, I think. The first question I have in mind was, why do anti-dogmatic religious beliefs like heaven, hell, last judgment, sin, divine laws, flood, virgin mothers, saints, soul salvation, still predominant in this global super communication era? So as of the 21st century, still have that doctrines in place. And that's the part of the religion. And why does science ignore the transcendence of consciousness and multidimensionality, excessively value the scientist's neutrality, matter, the 4 dimensions, the 5 senses, mechanicism, medicine, is extreme skepticism, and the so-called sacred teachers at the university? What's the approach? And also I consider that, because it's important we are going to see later on the statistics, the belief in the existence and non-existence of God or supreme being. So the anti-dogmatic consciousness seeks to answer these and other important existential questions. So I have enriched the book with quotations, reference for extensive bibliography, emphatic phrases, questions, use of techniques, scientific methodology of conscientiology. So the next, it's about dogma, the definition about dogma. What is dogma? So the word dogma has the meaning of opinion, precept, what seems good to us, decision, decree. So at the first, there is no big problem with the definition itself, with the origin of the word. But the problem is when they are proclaimed about as absolute truth. That's the problem, like Liliana mentioned a little bit earlier. Let me make some few comments about the process of the dogma. So early Christians in Greece, they have employed the idea of dogma to designate hidden traditions that for them could only be understood mystically or expressed by symbols. So that 2,000 years ago, after the death of Christ, that group started working with that, and they used the word dogma. But here in the West, the Roman Catholic Church has appropriated this term, and its currently represents an opinion declared by religious authority. The other thing is the Magister Dixit idea. So the Magister Dixit means the master has spoken. So that's the problem, because interrupt the process of debate without further discussion. And that Magister Dixit idea was employed by, for instance, by teachers, followers of ancient philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, and Pythagoras. While the dogma designates religious idea, the dogmatism representing absolute truth is present in the universe of contemporary scientific and philosophical knowledge. Now I wanted to share with you definition of anti-dogmatic consciousness. I'm not going to fill the presentation. No, yes, what is the anti-dogmatic consciousness? I'm not going to talk with many definitions, but since it's the title of our presentation in the book, I will highlight some important parts of the definition. So an anti-dogmatic consciousness is the condition of autonomy assumed by women or men acting lucidly in the full exercise of their free will, in the act of making lucid choices in their lives, acting on their own accord, rejecting any yokes from other people's coercive opinions, unverifiable absolute truths, doctrines, dogmas of all kinds, and from there, dynamizing their personal and group existence. So that's the first part of the presentation that covers the introduction of the subject. And now let's talk about the research in conscientiology. The next slide. So we are going to, I have 2 or 3 slides about research, 2 or 3 about writing process. So then we are going to enter in some highlights of the book, and then the Q&A, the question and answer. Researching in conscientiology requires the use of scientific conscientiological research methodology. Self-experimentation is one of the main approaches that differentiate conscientiology from religion and from conventional science studies. Self-experimentation is participatory research, in which the science is both the researcher and the object of research. It should be noted that self-experimentation is healthy, so made without the use of any substance, be that teas, candles, or mantras, no alcohol, no tobacco, no drugs, any kind of these things, and any mystical object. Is just use the bioenergy and the
And
person
the
itself.
exercise of your own will, because the idea
Yeah,
is to build a strong will that can
yes,
drive your evolution. Yeah?
exactly, exactly. Not using any, let's say, of this kind of things. So and also the important thing on the research in conscientiology is the facts orient the research. So it's fact-based oriented. Let's go now to the next talk about the main steps to research in conscientiology. It's important to note that these things are not necessarily linear and may overlap or iterate depending on the complexity of the research, question, and the nature of the data collection. But in general, we define the topic of the research and formulate questions, make the literature review, like in science, but now we have the research methodology, the conscientiology methodology, interpret the findings and communicate the findings. For instance, on the next slide, I share about the researching for the anti-dogmatic consciousness. In the process of my research, I took advantage of the following tools as a result of my collection of information from 20 years of experience and studies in conscientiology. So I got started in 1993 until 2013. So it took me 20 years. So I would
Don't
not.
scare people.
No, I don't scare,
We don't
and
need 20 years to produce a book.
don't follow my experience because it's not a good example. I'm not a good.
No. It's
It took
yours is
it
a good example, but it's
yeah
not
it
for
took
everybody.
no that's an individual process, right, Liliana?
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
I was studying. At the same time, I have my professional work,
of
so
course.
was very hard work by this period of time. So I have to prioritize the professional work. So I did not put effort to write the book, but I put effort on the research.
Yes,
So
very
I
good.
have a lot of booklets, reading notes from the books, activities in laboratories, activities in group parapsychic dynamics. I also a member of Invisible College of Reflexology, so which is a good tool for research. Uh, and also there is some college I shared with Liliana earlier, and also she shared with me another college that they are including activities in English. So
Yeah, they're starting. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's a couple of them
for
already.
those
Yeah,
who
please.
are in Romania, Slovenia, or German, or any part of the world, the Invisible College could be a good option to be part of them
To have
because
extra possibilities of research.
yeah, they have activities in English.
You have
So
like the Invisible College of Pacifismology, which
yes,
Regina is part of it, right?
yeah.
And Agina and I, we
And
started in the College of Serenology as well.
Regina also is part of one of these scholars, so they have a lot of activities in English. So
And a
it's a good
website, and a website,
in the website, in the
and a
website.
website.
Yes. Also, I took notes from Penta practice, so I was Penta practitioner, experience from writing and defending verbets. So I have 10 verbets for the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology. And also, everyone can write articles for magazines such as
Yeah, and we
Scripture,
have more and more magazines.
more and
Almost
more
every
magazines. I think
CR,
we,
every
I, th-
CI, the idea is to bring a new magazine.
yeah, we have 21 scientific magazines in
Well,
2000.
this weekend there was the launch of a new one, right?
New one?
Consecutivos launched
Yeah,
the Multi-Existencia.
yeah. And also the digital database collection from my computer. So that was my process. Again, uh, not linear. You don't necessarily need to follow that, but it's a good it works for me. So that works for me. So that was the process of researching, the summary of the research. Now let's go to the next slide that we are going to talk about the process of writing. That picture is with the teacher Malu Balona. That was 10 years ago at the exit of the Tertuliarium. By that time, we put together a banner with main ideas of the book, with the table of the contents, and we put on a kind of exhibition at the exit of the Tertuliarium. So after the mental somatic circle meeting on Saturday, everyone could see what we are planning to write. And I have made a lot of changes on that. So uh, and that is the importance of sharing what you are writing while you are writing. Okay. Writing in conscienciology involves expressing ideas related to the study of consciousness, encompasses various areas of knowledge, such as psychology, parapsychology, physics, biology, and philosophy. Here are listed some main steps to writing conscienciology. So it's important to identify your target audience, define the scope and purpose of your writing, organize your thoughts and idea, write a first draft of the table of contents like I did, and I revise and edit your writing, finalize and proofread your writing, and share your writing. So that will help you to get feedbacks and improve your writing. The next slide, I put some highlights about the importance of writing conscienciological books. The use of scientific and conscienciological method. Individual group proaxis, writing on conscienciological topic. Multidimensional scientific language is available. For example, the glossary of essential conscienciology terms. Uh, the
And in the future, thesaurus, right? The Portuguese one is about to come out. It already has
yeah,
3,000 neologisms in 6 languages, and
3,000.
the
Yeah.
English one is in revision. So,
Uh, One important thing to highlight is the importance about conscientiology, since conscientiology is being established as a science become recognized by its extension, quality, and publication, fact-based publications, and events like today, an event, for example. Currently, conscientiology
But
has,
the writing is very, very important, right? You should
yes,
always highlight the materials, the journals, the books,
yeah, we
all
have
that. Very important for science.
177 authors and 195 books launched already. The Encyclopedia of Conscientiology reached this week 600, 350.
6,000, over 6,000.
Yeah. Also, we have 25 conscientiocentric institutions. We have 25 also invisible colors. We have already 67 authors of verbets. Last year, almost 4,000 courses and two and a half thousand activities free of charge. So this set of knowledge is a good thing that will help conscientiology to be established as a science. So that's important.
And
that,
if I may add, next year
of
we
course,
will do it. We will do exactly a balance of the scientificity of conscientiology. We are going to have the first Congress of Conscientiology in Foz. We are inviting even, foreign people that come and present with us, and because we want to exactly do that analysis and that have a balance, have what is the level of scientificity of conscientiology after 30 years of growth, right?
Okay. So let's keep going. Next slide. It's the last about the writing anti-dogmatic conscientiousness, my experience. I have participated in UNIESCON activities, although they don't have at the moment activities in English, but I know Liliana can comment on that. They are working to have.
We want to.
Yeah.
We keep trying to convince them. Yes, we need to have activities in English ASAP, because there's people waiting.
Yeah. So what I did, I participate in the gesconographic immersion, gesconographic lab, either in group and individual, graphic tocenic support, which I coordinate that at this moment, write verbets while writing the book, write articles, and share lectures in seminars for conscientiocentric institutions events.
Can I just add something?
Of course.
So one of the approaches when you're writing a book, and that UNESCO advises, is for people to start writing articles about parts of your book. These articles can easily be published. Doesn't matter if they're in English, if they're in another language, we'll find a way. These articles can easily be published in one of the various journals and magazines that we have, right? And this, by the process of writing your articles, it kind of clarifies your mind, helps you organize your thoughts in the process of your book. And you will also get feedback from your peers, which will also help in your book, right? So you can also offer lectures and seminars to the CIs, say, look, I would like to discuss this theme. Can I discuss this theme with you or something? We have, for instance, the bridge researchers. If someone gets to us and says, look, I'm writing this book, I have this lecture. Can I give this lecture with you guys? Yes, you can. We'll be happy to invite you, right?
Okay.
So all that helps in your research and your writing the book.
Yeah, yeah. So finally, the summary of the book. Next slide. So that end up having this third 386 pages, the 3 sections, 18 chapters, 37 epigraphs, 1 microbiography, 50 suggestions of movies, 31 videos, and the one thing that I wanted to highlight is the reference. 8065 reference and 539 books consulted. I have also the glossary of conscientiological terms, just 150, the most related to the book. So you don't have to put the whole glossary. So it's important to have select the terms that you have in the book.
But
Index
you
of
also have
names.
your additional glossary, right? Which
Yes, yeah.
Wagner just showed. You have 600 terms on the glossary. We are going
Yes.
to launch now the glossary in Romanian as well. So we have the glossary in English and Portuguese, the glossary in Spanish, and now we are going to launch the glossary in Romanian, Portuguese, and English, which is first time a glossary in 3 languages simultaneously.
Okay, let's keep moving to the next slide and talk about paradigm. This is an important thing that most people could know, understand that, but for the sake of didactics, let's talk a little bit about paradigm. Paradigm is a model of interpreting reality. That means guiding what we think, guiding what we feel, value, and how we act. And that is the thing that I like. It's the lens through which we see the world. So that's a very good phrase I like. By etymology, the word paradigms comes from the Greek language, meaning model, example. Paradigm is the reference used for represent reality, indicating the guidelines, parameters, and standards to be followed. While paradigms are restrictive, paradigms are necessary to establish limits and focus on studies. On the right side of the slide, we have a list of 7 paradigms in order of chronological appearance: myth, religion, art, philosophy, science, common sense, consciential, 8, which will be the 8, we don't know. Since we are in the process of evolution, it is expected to have other paradigms, right, Liliana? So
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Now we are going to talk about the religious paradigm. So we have three. The next we are going to we are cover already 70% of the presentation. Now we are going to cover the religious paradigm, the science paradigm, the conscientiological paradigm, the question of God, and then we will end. Religious paradigm, in summary, has the following concepts. Source of knowledge. In religion, knowledge is often based on faith and revelation, without the need of proof. So the truth, the proof, the history is not important. Methodology. Religion relies on interpretation of the texts. Purpose. Religion seeks to provide a framework for understanding for the meaning and purpose of life, being one or multiple lives, like the Hindus. Scope. Religion tends to focus on the spiritual realm and questions related to morality and ethics. Religious beliefs tend to be more resistant to change due to the dogmatic idea. I brought now a chart on the next slide that indicates the worldwide adherence statistics. So the pie chart It's a research from Pew Research Center that is dated 2015, but I have taken a look on other recent research, and that not change a little bit. So it's not, there is no significant change in this stat. So the chart talks by itself. So I hope
The
you,
majority is still Christian,
yeah,
then
everybody can
closely
take a
followed
look.
by
And, yeah,
Muslims,
yeah,
and then the Hindus, because the Hindus are many as
yeah. Unaffiliated, 1.2. And one important thing to note here is the Muslims, the studies are indicating that Muslim will overcome the Christians.
they're growing very fast. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they are the one that's growing more faster is the Muslim, and more than that, they
Is
are
Islam,
practitioners.
right?
They are
Yeah.
practitioners, so that
And they are, yes,
yeah.
daily. Uh-huh.
Like I have said before, the religion is based on sacred texts in sacred books. So then we can go to the next slide and talk a little bit about that. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So when I attend a course with the intention to be a teacher of a Sunday school class at the Baptist church, I decided to be a maxi descent because they learn from the Bible, like lack of the proof, lack of originals, unknown writings. That led me to leave the church, while the feeling of religiosity still continues for a certain time. There are some scholars in the United States that they are reading the existing copies of the manuscripts, and they are discounting what is being in the gospel, inside the gospel. They discount more than 80% of Jesus saying. So
So it means that more than 80% of what is written was not said by Jesus.
yeah, the exact number is 18% is attributed to Jesus. So another highlight is that Buddha, uh, Jesus, and Muhammad did not live a written word, but the three religions together, Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam, represent more than 50% of the believers in the world. And also it's important to highlight that these three personalities, they did not found their religion. Their followers wrote about them, and their religion were born from these writings. And also another, the last point was the sacred books were not written to be sacred. It's more when they start putting in writing the ideas of the persons that was ruling at that time, the power to continuate the guarantee of the power. But it's we have to recognize that what that was useful for cohesion of people's information, and there are a lot of mythology in the so-called sacred texts, like flood, Moses, the history of Job. Remember this, the history of Job. Even the Jews, they say that is a kind of once upon a time story. Okay, now we are going to enter in the science paradigm on the next slide. like I said, I named it Homo sapiens scientificus. Well, is still better known, largely known, that Galileo Galilei established the 5 steps for the science paradigm. Observe reality, question, answer question by formulating one or more hypotheses, accomplish controlled experiments to confirm or deny the hypothesis, establish criteria to be repeated, recycling and reinterpret experience with new facts and discoveries. There are some other approaches in different disciplines nowadays, not only the Galilean model, but the so-called Galilean methodology is still in place. And now, to differentiate conscientiology from the scientific and from religion, the next slide, it's a summary of the conscientiological paradigm. The
So
conscientiology,
on top of the scientific paradigm, I think this is important for people to understand as well. On top of the 5 items there of the scientific paradigm, we still put some more lenses. We increase or so that we can deepen actually the scientific study of consciousness.
The conscientiological paradigm is the model of learning theory, or is the model or leading theory of conscientiology, which addresses consciousness comprehensively in an integral way, from the basic premises summarized in the following topics validated by the principle of disbelief. Is very, within our environment, is very known: holosomatics, bioenergetics, multidimensionality, multi-existentiality, cosmoethics, universalism, and self-experimentation. So to study the consciousness was necessary to develop a new paradigm, because we cannot use the materialistic paradigm to study the consciousness.
To study something that is not material at all.
Yeah, immaterial. The consciousness is immaterial, and the science study material, right? Now, let's talk about the God question. I put a chart here that our friends can take a look, and the chart talks by itself. The purpose of this chart was published by Ipsos writers, and the idea of this chart was a research or a poll about how important is to believe in God, to have moral, to be a good person. So to be a good person in Indonesia, Turkey, Brazil, so a very high percentage. And like Japan, China, Sweden, is a low percentage. So they don't think that to be a good person is necessary to
You
believe in
need to
God.
believe in a God.
Yeah, that's the charts. In summary, that's what the chart says.
You know what surprises me on this chart is that Spain is so down here, because it's still a quite religious country, right?
Uh-huh.
That's interesting.
Yeah. There
And
are
it's
some
less here,
studies
it's
that,
less than Italy, which is
yeah,
interesting.
there are studies that indicates that as the GDP is higher, the necessity to believe in
Yeah,
God, to be a good
exactly.
person is yeah,
The higher your GDP, the less need for religion.
yes.
So which means the poorer countries have more needs to
yeah,
believe in a savior,
yeah.
kind of.
On the next slide, still a thing about God. Is the theological argument, intelligent design proposed by William Pale. Pale proposed the idea to understand the living world and the cosmos with these three topics. Complexity implies a designer. The universe is highly complex. Conclusion, the universe has a designer, which is God. That idea is not accepted by the scientific community since there is no way to verify that. Also, he used the clock as a model of complexity, but Darwin has already, with this theory, a lot of other complex organisms evolve by time. So it takes a long time to get evolved. So that the scientific community don't accept that. And also there is another idea about the God of the gaps. So, which means what science cannot explain, religions could explain. And so William Pale put that idea. We are approaching now close to the 80% of the presentation. And I wanted to talk about a movement called New Atheism. This movement started around the year 2000. They have an agenda for science and secularism, and basically to go against religious ideas. And the motivations. So these 5 topics I have listed here. The inconsistent narratives of the so-called sacred books. Induction of guilt for something not committed, like the original sin. Intolerance of other people's beliefs, violence, terror. Blocking stem cells research in United States. And the global supercommunication. The problem is the peremptory denial, the jokeful, the way they approach science against religion. And I put a question mark. That could be a new dogma. So we saw the religion point of view about God. We saw the atheist point of view, and now we are going to see the conscienciological reflections on God. So, in summary, conscienciology does not endorse any specific religion, religious or spiritual beliefs about God, but through self-experiment, a multidimensional and evolutionary perspective on the concept, allowing individuals to explore and develop their own understanding based on their experiences and consciousness evolution. At the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology, there is a verbete called Assunto Mateológico that exists only in Portuguese. And from there, I got 2 ideas. God, the remotest idea for human understanding.
Let's just say that assunto mateológico means mateological subject matter. So it's like something, it's a subject matter you cannot know, you cannot get knowledge about.
Yeah, it is not accessible, right?
Something that's not accessible to you, directly accessible.
And the other idea for the same verbete is the primotocene, primary cause of all reality, things of the cosmos, the supreme intelligence of the universe. So these 2 first topics are in this verbete. And the dicionários of de argumentos da conscienciologia, of dictionary of arguments of conscienciology, I think does not exist in English also, right?
No, unfortunately not.
So there is one quote that I brought from there: uncomfortable condition of not being able to give an honest opinion about it, a myth that we have not yet managed to dispel. So that's the reflection on God in conscientiology. Now, to finish the presentation, I have put two charts about religious paradigm comparing to consciential paradigm, and two charts comparing science paradigm and religious paradigm. Let's see the first one. On the left side, we have the religious paradigm. And the right side, we have the consciential paradigm. First one, implausible belief, consciential, self-proving, self-experimentation, lucid projection, LP, existence of a God's inaccessible primary cause, evolutionary scale, unconditional faith, that's religion, conscientiology, principle of disbelief, sacred laws, commandments, free will, universal laws, cosmoethics, canonical books and authors, self-researchology, historized mythology, critical judgment, religiosity. So religiosity disseminated by art, like music, painting, sculpture. In conscientiology, self-discernment, fostered by stimulation of self-research. The other slide is also about religions and consciential comparison, manipulative proselytizing, prophylaxis of manipulation, existing robotization, multidimensional self-awareness, salvationism, responsibility for own acts, consolation tasks, clarification tasks, absolute truth, relative leading edge truth, verpons, eternal life after passing earthly existence, multi-existentiality, perennial existence. And the next two is about science paradigm, and there are only two to go to the end.
Yeah.
So science, anti-parapsychism, consciential, parapsychism, non-religion, interassistencial parapsychism, non-mystical. In science, vibration state is ignored. In conscientiology, prophylactic vibrational state. In science, evolution by natural selection, the theory of Darwin. Evolution by existential seriality in conscientiology. In science, human genetics. In conscientiology, consciential paragenetics. Scientific.
Just highlighting that paragenetics is, by opposition to human genetics, is the genetics what you inherit from yourself, from your past lives, right?
Yes.
Which is in many cases stronger than the human.
Yeah. And this next is very important, I think, to emphasize the scientific neutrality, and is the called nomothetic method that is basically based on universal laws. And in conscientiology, it was, like we said before, it was necessary to develop a new paradigm to study the particulars of the individual consciousness, the parapsychic veracity of the observer, the ideographic method. So, nomothetic method in science and ideographic method in conscientiology. In science, they say no existence of God or supreme being. In conscientiology, evolutionary scale of consciousness, primal
So
cause
we propose an
is
evolutionary scale of
yeah
consciousness, right?
is opposed that it's inaccessible, so we cannot affirm.
We don't say it exists or it doesn't exist. It's
No,
just
we
we
cannot
don't
say
deal
that.
with that. We are
No,
dealing with our evolution first, so that we
yes.
can get further ahead.
And the last comparison between science and conscienciology. Science is based only on matter, on energy. So matter, energy, is the basic component of the universe. In the consciential paradigm, we consider energy and consciousness that are the two known basic components. In science, memories are stored in the brain. In conscientiology, memories are stored in parabrain, hollow memory.
The brain of your psychosoma, right? Not the vehicle of manifestation, not the physical vehicle of manifestation. Right?
In science, planet Earth, human habitat. In conscientiology, extra-physicality, consciential habitat, extra-physical provenance. In
Don't
science,
believe in anything, right? Have your own experiences, but I would say we are extra-physical beings having an intraphysical moment. That's how I
yes,
generally put. We are not from this earth. We are
yeah,
extra-physical beings. We are just having an intraphysical
we
moment.
are all ETs.
We are all it. Exactly.
In science, 4 dimensions, 5 human sense. Conscientiology, multiple states of consciousness, multidimensionality. In science, soma, hominids. In
Yeah. Science
conscientiology,
only studies the soma, the
the
physical body,
soma.
right?
Yeah,
And we study other vehicles, not just the soma. We study the
holosoma.
soma and the other vehicles of manifestation.
Yes, yes. And the last one, scientific absolute truth, scientific belief. So many people, they are not religious, but they believe in science. In our case, relative leading edge truths, the verpons. And to,
Which means everything is relative. The
yes,
information we bring, we think it's a bit more advanced, but it's totally for you to experiment with and to refute, or you have your own experience and you see if it's real for you or not, or
yeah.
you can refute it and you can propose different hypotheses. That's the
And,
idea.
and to finish the presentation, I would like to leave an emphatic phrase that comes from the book. Becoming an anti-dogmatic consciousness can be achieved with self-effort in research and health self-experience, starting with the openness to the reality of the findings. So, thank you again very much for having me today with your patience. I hope I have contributed with some information, and now I will leave the
Food for
ladies.
thought, as the English say. Yeah, you leave us food for thought. Hopefully,
So now
people will
is,
want to experiment more.
yeah.
Okay, can we start with the questions in this case, if you don't mind?
Now Liliana will answer all the questions because I am not a
Okay,
bit
okay, good.
No, you're not off the hook.
So she has made the training with me about the book, so she knows everything about the book already. So, and
Let's
she
not
also
exaggerate.
she also doing the book revision in English also. She knows better than me. So I'm at your disposal and for comments, for disagree,
Okay, Adina,
or
start.
refutable if you are
I don't
going
know.
to.
Or Regina. Let's have
As far
questions.
as far as I can see, we have a comment here in the chat. I will read it, but well, I think that we need some explanations. So today's gathering spoke about dogmas with love, propriety too. Okay.
I think that's just a comment, not a
Just a
question.
comment. Right, right.
Yeah.
So you can
Oh,
go ahead and,
Pedro,
we
thank
have
you,
already a
Pedro.
few questions.
Thank you,
I,
Pedro, for your comment.
yeah, I can start with, in this case, in your opinion, what was the importance of the religious paradigm, if it was any, and of the absolute truth throughout the history? Can we talk about a certain moment in history, or can we talk about a religious figure important in history who saved the world at a certain moment?
Adina, very good question, not easy. Three questions in at once.
Yeah, that's my style. I'm sorry.
And,
Yeah.
and maybe and maybe some more in between. So well, Adina, what I let me get started to answer this through the history perspective. So taking a little bit of introduction on the history. So I consider, not I, so that's the reality, that's the history. Three great moments in the human history about the so-called revolutions, okay? So the first was the cognitive revolution that happens 70, 60,000 years ago. So that after that, we got a long period, and by 12,000 years ago, we got the agricultural revolution. And only 400 years ago, 500, half a 5 centuries or 400 years ago, the scientific revolution. So these three uh, things, three moments of the human history has some, let's say, some play a important role in the paradigm. So not only the religious paradigm, but only the philosophical paradigm. And the other thing is about the so-called axial era, axial age. When that happens, that was almost 3,000 years ago, but specifically was a period of time between 800 and 200 before Common Era, okay? So during this 600 years, happens a very interesting in the human history that could help to explain what you have asked. What happened in the axial era? The historians does not know exactly uh, why that happened simultaneously. It started in China, went to Persia, then India, Middle East. So the world that known by that time. So the most part of the world that was that time. And what happens during this time? In China, the ideas from Confucius, the ideas from Lao Tzu, the book Tao the King, right? It's attributed to him. So they started to to gather information to help people on moral, to have morals. And also, that was not exactly a religion, it's a more philosophy. But in Persia, for example, Zoroaster started to develop the idea of monotheism. So in India, they also start to discussing the ideas about morals. Israel prophets start to put together the manuscripts that was lost during the invasion of Israel. So, and what happens? There is a Brazilian lawyer called Fábio Comparato. Fábio says that I noted here, there was two important things that happens in this period. Ideas from this period. Do not do to others what you do not want to do to you, and do well to everyone, including your enemies. So that was a
So that came
contribution
before the Christian era.
that came
Those
before
are
the
ideas
Christian
much
era.
before.
And that was the other religions, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the pagan religions, the local religions. So that helps. That helped. That have a positive impact. We have to recognize that. We're not saying that religion is not good. Maybe not good for us at our moment, but for that moment was good. Now, the other thing you said is the salvation, right? The Savior. The idea of the Savior, some figure that's saved the world. Yes, we know more in the West is the influence of Jesus Christ that we saw in the presentation, that Jesus Christ did not found the Christianism. The followers found the Christianism. So that's a little bit different. The followers attribute to Jesus to be a savior. But there is a dispute in the academic world about this, because first, the originals of the gospel does not exist. What exists was written in Greek, not in the Aramaic, which was the language of Jesus. There are other saviors listed in the studies. So one example, Dorothy Murdoch, I noted here, she listed 16 personalities. The other was Kelsey Graves. He listed 26. Thomas Doan lists
26 saviors, you mean?
saviors, yeah.
16, 17.
Personalities, of
Yeah.
course, that was not actual persons, was mythology, but which is the same with Jesus Christ. So there is a theory about the myth of Jesus, because we said before on the presentation that more than 80% of Jesus' sayings are not from him, so was from mythology, from all these mythologies. So in conclusion, I consider that was an impact. There was an impact and a positive impact, but that idea of savior of the world, I think, is a little bit polemic, and even the Christians, when they access these informations, they say that that's not so important to know if that is true or not. They made a separation between faith and history. Okay, so the Christ, for example, in the Jesus Christ, there is a Jesus of the faith, and the other, the historical Jesus, which
Historical
is
one.
a little bit known, so we don't know much about him. I don't know if that was your
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
all
It
questions.
it makes sense, right? Well, in my opinion, the least religious uh, people country in yeah, not only one but throughout its history is China. I think that Chinese were always more philosophical than religious, but well, it's not the point today. But we have two hands up.
I think
Anna,
that
please.
Anna is first.
Yes, yes, Anna is the first one.
Your mic.
Please.
Oh, I was muted.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. For you, maybe it's good evening. Thank you, Wagner, for your work. We
Thank you.
can't talk about dogma without talking about the principle of disbelief.
Mhm.
A strong pillar of the conceptual paradigm and a constant reflection in all my inquiry endeavors. I am writing an article, The Theories of the Principle of Disbelief, as a prophylaxis against religious manipulations, and your book is helping me a lot.
Okay.
So in your book, you say on page 41 that 80% of world's population still follows ideas of a religious nature.
Mhm.
So what led you, what prompted you, and what did you do to leave this huge percentage?
What?
What led you to quit,
To
make your
leave his
maxi
group,
dissidence?
right? The
Yeah,
maxi dissidents.
to keep your karma group, to
What?
join
What?
another one.
What I
Yes.
got that information? You say?
No.
No, what did you
Wagner,
do?
what led you to come out of that, you know?
Yeah.
What was your incentive? I think it was because of this that you explained about dogma that you didn't understand this
Yeah,
dogma.
Anna. The thing I think was the like we said on the last slides about the paragenetics, the paraprovenance, because we have the mesological influences, right?
Yes,
The,
this
the
is,
fa-
I based exactly that on my article, the mesological influence, and then we forgot what we did in our intermissive course, and then, but it's not, I'm not sure that this is, it's not scientific to say so in an article.
Okay.
Because of intermissive course. And then, so what are the questions that you can, that I can tell to me,
Got you.
based on the principle of the principle of disbelief, that I can make as an example for others, because it was simple for me, but it was not because I was 15 years old when I made my maxi dissidence, but I didn't know conscientiology, but I
Yes,
know that was
I agree. I got you.
based on the questioning, the omni questioning that we as an intermissivist.
I got you. I know. What happened? My maxi dissidence was not at the first maxi. Was a dissidence from religion. Was not maxi. Because when I reached the age of 25, I said that was studying the Bible to become a Bible school teacher. So that was the max dissidence from religion.
Yeah,
But
I have it.
I didn't. That was, let's say, by that moment, was more intellectually, okay? Because that thing does not make sense anymore for me. That does not make sense. It's a very simple idea. Born, raise, have a profession, get married, get child, develop your career, and then die and go to the heaven or to the hell
I
if you don't accept Jesus.
It's probably not just a matter of logics, because I had
No,
exactly the same idea. So
yeah.
probably this all already comes from the intermissive course.
And then
This idea that this life doesn't make sense.
no, and then I went to science, and the science, get very beautiful explanations, right? More beautiful explanation, but dogmas again. So the the materialistic point of view of the science was I was no, there are something. So and then by the age of 35, I I was going to a library, and I found a magazine. It's called Ano Zero. Ano Zero is a magazine that there was published in May 1991. And there was an interview with Professor Valdo. And the thing, there was a principle of disbelief. He said, no, don't believe in anything. Have your own experience. And that called me attention. And I said, what was that experience? I don't believe, but what about the experience? I don't have that experience. Like Mario has in his back exactly what we are saying. and not attribute this to the when I recognize later that I have an intermissive course. So
Because there are
that,
certain things that don't make sense, like
yeah,
you're
the
saying this type of
paragenetic.
life. And
So the paragenetic and paraprovenance came above the cultural, the social, the religious environment. So that was I became dissident, maxi dissident. My family is still religious. Everybody is religious there. I am the only one that have escaped to that.
Oh, so do
same
I.
here.
I think you are in the
The black
same.
sheep, the black sheep.
The black sheep are the best. Yes.
I think we were in the same intermissive course. We are the
Well,
same
I
age.
was in the, let's say, the basic intermissive course.
Like me. I
I
am.
was not
We are the same age.
the first grade. I was in the first grade.
66, I am 68. So we are together.
I was in the first grade.
And what I have to say that you are a good example. Yes, because in the very beginning you said that oh, I'm not a good example. Yes, you are.
No, I
You,
said I'm
yes,
not
you
a good
did. You
example
are a
for
good.
writers. No, I said I'm not a good
For me,
example
you are a
for
good
writers
example for
because I
you.
took 20
For
years.
writers, because
Nowadays, you don't need to take 20 years.
to write a book.
I took 30. So for our karma group, we are a good example. Okay, we are. Thank you very much.
Well, the young guys today, they can write a book in 2-3 years, no more than
Oh
that.
yeah.
But I say on average, if you do like 4 or 5 years, it's already a consistent research, I guess, to
Yeah,
be able to write something.
yeah, it's important to build the self-research, right? You have to build the self-research. It's not unless you have a near-death experience or something like that that can speed up your process. But with a regular study, you have to build your self-research before writing, I think.
That's a funny thing because initially I thought, okay, I'm going to write my book in 6 months. That's how silly is that? Now it's been like 4 years I've been researching and writing,
Well,
and it's not finished.
Professor Valdo took 90 years to write the projectiology, right? But that's not a book.
That's
It's
a
that
treatise.
thick.
That's a different story. That's a different story.
It's a treat.
Mario.
Okay, can I ask my question? Of the first thing, congratulations for your book. It's really, really good.
Thank you.
I'm curious about something. I don't want to put you in a hot seat. You know what it's to put you in a hot seat, Wagner. It's like to put in a chapa quente, right? Yes, well, listen, you are talking about the transition, right? Because we are in a science, okay, that's fine. It's clear for everyone. We are in a science, but our behavior or the behavior of the group are still in this transition from religious to science. We know that it's sometimes we change some sense for some epicons, and we change the image of a guru for Valdo Vieira. We have people still dealing like that, still acting like this. I see that. No problem at all. It's not a criticism. It's just a way of look at the things and see that we have a path to go. We still have a journey, a road ahead. But I'm curious, Wagner, and maybe you are the best person to say that. How do you see that? How do you diagnose the level of religion we are still struggling with, you know, every day in conscientiology? In your opinion, are we 50% after this transition, or is still going for it? Did you understand?
I understand.
How do you see the group? How do you see the religious level of our group?
I got your point, and I understood very clear. It's hard to say because it's just a guess, right? I don't have a profound research or poll on that, but I would say with your second option, we are in the middle, because think about that with our history of multiple lives. How many of us was not, if you are not religion at this time, you were religion in the past. We were in monarchy. You are in the militarism.
It depends on our past lives, as I was thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But-
It depends
but-
on how much involved you were with religion, in which role you were in your past lives, or which role.
But for example, the times when the Roman Empire fall down, then we have the 1,000 years under religion, under Catholic, right? Religion
The
was
Middle
ruling.
Ages, right? And then
So in 1,000 period of time, you probably have passed through religion, probably, right? So that gets some mark in your psychosome, right? You
Yes.
bring
and your
that,
mental soma, even the way you think, not
Yeah,
just the right.
you bring that to the present life.
Mhm.
But if you are not going through religion at this time, you bring that ideas. So when you go to conscientiology, there I know I feel by the 30 years of experience that there are followers of conscientiology.
That's right.
Why do I say that?
We have all sorts, right?
Yes.
Why do I say that? Because from my experience, when I ask a people, what your topic of research? Most of people does not have a topic of research.
There are very different answers to that
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's like,
No,
for
but
instance, I've
yeah.
been 20 years in the international, in the other side of the pond, in 2 different countries, in a different continent. In these 20 years, your focus is giving classes every day to bring in new intermissivists, to, you are agents of catalysm, really. And you don't have time to do self-research. Finally, this is what I always wanted to do my whole life. And finally, now that I'm here in Brazil, I'm finally being able to do self-research. Of course, that you gather information all along those years, but you cannot focus. You don't have time, in your life and what you are supposed to do, even in your voluntary work. You don't have time for much research. Now I have time for research, and now I am writing, finally. So there are many different, there is not just one answer or to the question, right? There's many hypotheses.
Because one
But this
thing
is
is
also, I think it's a bit the process of evolution. We all went through different lifetimes doing in different roles in different areas, including religions, and maybe not just one, several. And today we are in a condition that we no longer need that. We can move ahead and be different.
and the other thing is, Mario, to go if a person comes from religion, like in my case, comes to the conscientiology. So in religion, you have the how do you say, guard of angel guard,
Guardian angels.
God angel.
guard angel,
Guardian angels.
Yeah.
guard angel to help her. It's like this, right? You can do this. You can transform the guard angel to help her.
Yes.
Some people do. And
the
spiritual
magister,
guides, same story. Da,
Yeah.
da, da.
and the Magister Dix idea, like we said before, right? In the past. No, Aristotle has said, Plato has said, Liliana has said, Adina has said, Regina has said, Mario has said, Professor Valdo said.
Yeah.
Right. It's easy to say, but
That
yeah,
is why we
I
need
took
to
care.
highlight this thing of self-research.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, you can admit the idea from those persons, but you have to be careful not to believe, to accept as a hypothesis and then study them.
Experiment, research.
And go to study. But every other day I see someone saying, no, some Magister Dix idea is
And this
still
is,
exists.
if I
So
may answer
answer,
as well.
this is because I think we are in the middle, like you said on the second. That's my opinion. What's your opinion?
Well, yes, 50%. Well, I think that a bit more than that.
More.
A bit more than that. Yes, because sometimes that's I was when I talk to people, right? Some people say like things like, "Okay, Valdo said that, so I believe in him." Full stop. This is sometimes we hear this from people who are study and they are scientifically active and they are teachers of conceptuology. Sometimes they are even in higher echelons of conceptuology, but they are still saying things like this, this is what Valdo said, that's that. So I say, what?
The master has spoken. This is because
Yes.
I put in my book, I put the limitation on the conscienciologists, because I put Homo sapiens credulus, scientificus, and conscienciológico. Conscienciológico is conscienciologists. Above that, I don't have to. I can accept the idea as intellectually, but I don't have experience. I did not have a lucid projection with, for example, evolutionary, how do you say?
Evolutionologist.
Evolutiology. I did not have. I can accept that exists, but I don't know.
Okay. Thank you,
Can we have
Wagner.
more questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other questions? Because, well, I am a ever asking person, so I can do it if you don't have any others. Well,
You know about the time. I am available, so no,
okay, yes.
we can go until midnight.
Hey. How would you explain to a professional religious person that they are in mimetism, and that their condition is not evolutive, is not evolutionary, sorry. What arguments would you give them without hurting? Without hurting, yes.
Hurting. Well, I already have that discussions because people know that I am from religion. Especially when I returned to my hometown city when I was born, my mom and my sister still lives there, and I have friends there, and they say, well, what are you doing? You write a book. They know that. So, and even the priest or pastor, I have opportunity to talk about that. With the pastor from the gospel, from the Protestant religion, is more difficult. With Catholic, with the priest, the dialogue runs a little bit more easier. Okay. But one thing that is important, I think, that is valid for any situation, is to respect their beliefs. It's a very sensitive issue. I have to be careful, like Mario, the question what Mario commented. So not to be a conscientiology priest or pastor, right? So I treat them with respect. I acknowledge their respect, their faith, their belief, and I express sincerely. I don't say anything against them, but to avoid hurting, I have to make an honest question. So the importance of critical thinking, the reality, so the history, the facts, always facts, and call them to reflect and think about that, but not going against the person. So always focus on the idea, not on the person.
Would it be easier with a scientist or with a religious person? How would you approach a scientist, a 100% materialist dermatologist? I don't know how is that. Yeah.
Well, science is easier to approach, because science more accustomed to question examining ideas. It's a easier dialogue with science. I can focus on the concept of the mimetism, an observable social phenomenon, and discuss its potential implications with religion contexts. Okay. In general, I think it's better to be non-confrontation against them. But it's much easier to discuss with scientists, even materialists. Because you see the science, there are many disciplines in this. We are talking about science in general, but there are many disciplines in the science that are more open. For instance, the neuroscience, psychology, so many disciplines.
Transpersonal psychology, for instance,
Yeah.
that considers the spiritual.
So even for example, you know Carl Sagan. Have you heard about Carl Sagan, the lead the project at NASA to search about extraterrestrials? So he was totally materialistic, but he was searching for extraterrestrials. It's a little bit, but it's easier. But religious, what is the point for me? What the experience I have, the dogmatic. When you present the facts, they reinterpret the facts. So they to keep the dogma, to keep the
things
idea.
as they are.
Yeah,
And
to keep as they are. They
status
no,
quo.
okay, I accept that is not true. That is
But
mythology, but it happens to help the people, the consolation, right? The consolation side. So they reinterpret the text. I think there is a expression in the I forget now in English, but they pick the words from the Bible, for example, the ones that respond the question.
fine picking, right? They fine pick to build the answers or the question or something.
Cherry picking.
Cherry picking.
Cherry pick, yes, just cherry. So, and they keep in there, but the anti-dogmatic, they change the idea. So that's the difference.
And it's one of the latest criticisms I heard to the principle of disbelief, even coming from a young guy, in a religion that is not from Conscienciology, but you're saying, oh, you guys think that because you use the principle of disbelief, that covers everything. So you think that the most important thing is experimenting, but experimentation is not proof of reality. Can you believe it? That's experimentation is not proof of reality. Then what is? Stories that written in books that are thousands of years old.
Well, experimentation is subjective, but it's a reality.
It is subjective, but it's like I used to say many times, like it's subjective because each one of us is going to have a different experience. But when you have many people having the same type of experience, then that is very objective. It's like, if you think of OBE, right, projection of consciousness or near-death experience or something, and you gather the information from hundreds or thousands of people, that becomes very objective. So why would all these people be crazy or something?
Okay. Please don't be shy and ask your own questions. I
only
think
have
that
a few minutes.
yes.
Yeah, maybe picking up the idea that Mario brought about our own scientificity. I think it's more a comment that I bring now. I think it's a kind of process, right? From my point of view, it's not that we are dogmatic and in the next moment we are not dogmatic anymore. So I think it's a kind of process that we
The
are
process
going
of evolution itself, right?
Exactly. And depending on how much load we bring, maybe from past lives, it might be a higher load that we have of religiosity or dogmatic thinking, or less. And I think thinking about our topic today, writing about this topic, right, and helping with this process of writing, I think this writing process itself can help us in order to come to more anti-dogmatic person, right? And also maybe going back to past lives and rewrite maybe what we had there as even higher level of dogmatic thinking, right? And one question that I have to Wagner, what do you think? What will remain longer if you try to look into the future? Do you think it will be more the scientific dogma or more the religious dogma? What do you think?
Mario, that's a hot seat now.
I told you, but that I didn't mean that.
Regina, I think that's my guess. I have lived in religion and science, so I think I can have a good guess about that. Since religion accept the existence after death, they accept the spiritual world, right? When you go to science, everything is materialist. The life has no purpose. There is no life after death. So I believe religion would overcome earlier than science. That's my thought.
And
Looks strange, but science is very materialist, electronautic, concreteness. So unless any special thing happens in the future in science, I think religion would overcome early.
Very interesting. Yeah. Sometimes I think it might be like a pendulum, right? Like sometimes we are more on this one side and then on the other. And maybe a good thing would be, yeah, to be more in the balance, right?
Yeah.
And consider the
Oh,
consensus.
there are no. We have to emphasize there are science that are religious people, right? So, but when we are saying about science itself and religion itself, religion would come early, in my opinion.
Can I give one example? Maybe, maybe kind of. I am studying an hypothesis of the consecutive personality of a woman in the 19th century, England, 19th century, and she started by being. She was born in a religious family, so she started in religion, and then she cut with religion. After many years, she cut with religion. She became the total opposite. She became materialistic. But then what she wrote, you can see that this person was well prepared to do an intermissive course. And if I assume that I was that person today, I'm neither one side nor the other. Because the big difference was the intermissive course. That's the main difference between the two characters. What the person already recycled, because you start recycling when you have this, if you get to the intermissive course, you start recycling in the intermissive course. You kind of get what? How was I so blind? How was I so stupid? Kind of thing. And you start recycling there. And the biggest difference is the approach, the understanding of the whole thing. It's neither one thing or neither the other, right? The pendulum thing is neither this or the total opposite. It's in between. It's in the understanding, the level of lucidity, the level of discernment that as it opens, you can understand things in a totally different perspective. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree, Liliana. It makes sense.
It's all in the understanding. It's all how we right now cannot see a number of things. And as we manage to gain a little bit more lucidity, a little bit more discernment, we can reinterpret everything. We see it in a totally different light.
As please.
No, go.
No,
As a whole, in your opinion, is the intraphysical society still pathological, right? Is it ready to accept without collapsing? Is it ready to accept the leading edge truth without mental and emotional, first of all, collapse, that they are on their own fit, that there is no body out there who leads and help them in everything and support unconditionally?
Especially there is no one out there that are going to punish them. It's
And
them
yes,
themselves.
right.
It's we
Right.
ourselves that will punish ourselves for
Yes,
being so
right.
blind.
Well, not an easy question. I think that's another hot seat. Well, I think you think about ability to change without collapsing. That's the idea. Well, we have to consider that through the history, society has the ability to change and accept, but that's a process. It's not at once, right? So, but if you put all this information for the whole population, let's say popularize conscienciology with the leading edge truths, I don't think the humankind has the ability to absorb that without collapsing. But that will need time. That will need time. We cannot be popular. We are internationalizing, making the internationalization of the conscientiology. We have expanding the conscientiology, but not popularizing. We are not going to overcome religion soon. Let's say that will take many centuries, I think. If we put that now, I think would collapse. Think about the artificial intelligence, for instance. It's already creating a lot of troubles. So the media, these things are already creating a trouble. So it need to be gradual, in my opinion. And that's a process of the reurbanization, I think. Reurbanization is going to play an important role on that. gradually people are coming and getting to the Holocene, the better. So we'll be improving gradually. That would be my opinion. I don't know if that was you are wanting to hear.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know if I wanted to hear or not this. I wanted to hear that we are open-minded, we are ready to accept, to research, and so on. But yes, this is our level, and everything
No, but
supposed to be
people
in a
are very linked to their beliefs that
yes.
they fear to get the reality.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
And this is
I can mention, for instance, Professor Laurentino José Afonso. I don't know if everybody knows Professor Laurentino. He started to read he was a priest, okay? And he started to read the originals, not the originals, but the copy of the manuscript. And he decides to stop because he has fearing to lose the faith. He said that. He said that. And he went to Jerusalem to be part of the Jewish encyclopedia. So he worked at that, and he was reading the manuscript from the Old Testament, and he said that in public. He already said that in tertulias and everything. I was afraid to lose my faith, so I stopped reading. Of course, later he did the maxi dissonance.
It's amazing. Yeah. Oh, well.
If there are
Any
no further questions,
questions?
we
Yeah.
are past the time already. I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, unfortunately, we are past the time. But what we don't want to lose is to thank you so much for being here, for presenting all this interesting research that you did for such a long time. And I think it is very profound what you brought here and what you put in the book. And we are looking very much forward to have that in English, in Romanian, in other languages as well. And yeah, again, we thank you that you have been our guest here. It was very interesting, and for sure, we hope you will come back in the future and we can talk more about these interesting topics, because
Yeah.
as we talked, we think we need that, right? Always to remind ourselves to keep it up as a science and have this anti-dogmatic attitude, right? And I think it's a process, and we need to work on that, right?
And there's more to discuss, and we can further we can carry on the conversation in another. For sure.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you so much also to our guests and for the interesting questions, the not so hot seats, right?
And
And
we have some invitations, yeah?
Yeah.
yes, exactly. We also have further invitations, and therefore I would like to share my screen in order to let Adina and Lily talk about an upcoming event.
I will let Adina do the talking. Come on. The invitation is to
okay.
come to Romania. As if I was already there. Go ahead.
Logical order. Yes. but well, we invite you in Romania for conscientiology in Romania, right? It is our event that will take place in October from 6 to 10. We will start with book launch, and we will continue with the dynamic. Will finish with two days with the parapsychic dynamics. Yes.
And then we have a field course, and we finish with 2 days of sightseeing in psychometry, right?
Exactly. So
Yes, thank you. And there's another interesting event coming up, you know, in July. It's just around the corner, we can say so. And it's the International Week of Conscientiology. And it is from the 28th of July until the 6th of August. And we have a lot of interesting topics that we are covering there. So feel all very invited. And I would like to let our video speak so that you can have an idea about all the, how can I say, it's like a huge potpourri of great topics that we will have there with several partners. We work together with different CIs, conscientiological institutions, right? Also 2 invisible colleges. So I will share my screen and let the video play. And after that, I say good evening, good night, have a great rest of the day, and see you soon. Also in the next Bridge Writers, right?
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank
The
you.
next
Bye-bye.
Bridge
Thank
Writers
you.
is
to
going
all
to
of
be in
you.
October only, okay? But
All
we'll
right.
be there. All right.
Bye-bye.